Hello and welcome to episode 122 of The Pitcher or the Hitter, the podcast by the M-SABR Dynasty League for the M-SABR Dynasty League. I am Cam.
I'm Sahil.
And after a wild week where a lot of matchups were close, we have three-way ties. It's just absolutely insane. The league is tight. The league is in clumpier clumps than ever before. It's a wild time.
What was that phrase you just used? Funkier clumps?
I said clumpier clumps.
Clumpier clumps. Okay. That's excellent. Yes, yes. This is a very clumpity clump league. Lots of clumps. A very interesting week indeed. And one of my favorite types of weeks to record because it's one of the weeks where I have won my matchup and you lost your matchup. So always fun to record then. But we did not have any trades this week. So do we want to just dive right into the matchups?
Yeah, let's dive right in. And I guess you mentioned that I lost. Why don't we dive right in? This was one that came right down to the wire. There were 5 categories tied Sunday morning. There was one point where I had 4 of them flipped. Like around 5 o'clock, this was a 6-5-1 matchup, and I was very painfully close to pulling out a tie or a win. Unfortunately, my late bats in the Sunday night game couldn't get it done. And Andrew improves to 5-4-1, and I fall to 8-2.
After starting 6-0, you've now lost 2 of your last 4. So nice to see you kind of show that you are human. This was it was an interesting matchup because you all pitched very well. But neither of you really hit. It seemed like one of you really could have had the opportunity just to run away with the offensive categories. Instead, you both tied with 26 RBIs. Andrew won OBP with a 297 OBP. You had a 295. Just across the board, kind of mediocre offensively. On the pitching side, Andrew barely won WHIP. I mean, you'd have to go to 3 decimal points there, and that was definitely one of the sticking points at the end. I know you were hoping that Clay Holmes would flip it for you. But also, Andrew was able to win K's quality starts and holds, and that was enough for him to win. Very good pitching week for him. Really bailed out a very mediocre hitting week for him.
Yeah, no, it really did. And my team, this is 2 weeks in a row. We've had an OBP below 300. With Judge out, I'm just not hitting. And Anthony Rizzo has had 2 really bad weeks in a row now. Luckily, Rendon came back this week, and Bohm came back today. So there's a little bit of relief coming, but it's still yeah, it's been rough, really, really rough. Zach Neto, I left a big home run on the bench today.
A big 2 home runs on the bench. Let's make that
He
clear.
homered twice.
He did homer twice.
Wait, really? Oh my
Yeah.
God. Yeah, so that would have been nice to have. But I guess that makes me feel a little better about him going forward. So I'll take it in stride. I'm also not striking anyone out lately. Worried about that. But both teams, unlike my Conor matchup last week, where we both hit badly and pitched badly, we both pitched really great this week. There's a lot to be proud of. I got 2 really good starts from McClanahan. Sonny Gray looked good. Hey, Clay Holmes looked good in relief. He might be their closer again, which would be nice because Liam Hendricks is hurt again. Another good week for Scott Mungo. But let's talk about Andrew's team, though. He had rough hitting too, but he had a good week from Brian Reynolds, a good week from June Schwarber. The pitching, though, is where he shined as well. I'm going to say, with an honorable mention to John Gray pitching a 12 strikeout complete game shutout, Johan Oviedo is kind of my off the board pick. He had 2 quality starts, which flipped that. He had a great whip, 10 Ks. Really, really solid guy this week. Sure, one of his starts was against Oakland, but uh, yeah, no, he really helped that pitching staff out a lot.
Remember when Erik owned him at the beginning of the year? I'm sure he wishes he had him still.
Yeah, I mean, on the whole, he hasn't been that great, but this week it would have been nice for Erik, and it would have been nice for me if Erik still had him.
Yeah, definitely would have. But yeah, I think that's very fair. Great pick. I think that transitions nicely into my matchup with Erik, which also came down to the wire. Not quite to the Sunday night game, but did come down to the wire. I pulled out a narrow 6-5-1 victory. Um, this was a doozy of a matchup. I won saves and holds predictably. My ERA and WHIP started off very solid to start the week and just kind of slowly crept up as the week went on. Like my pitching got worse as the week went on, but I never quite reached a level where Erik was able to overtake ERA or WHIP, thankfully. Uh, we tied strikeouts, which was really infuriating. Alexis Diaz, for whatever reason, decided this was a one game. He decided that he didn't want to strike anybody out. And then offensively, Erik and I had very similar weeks. I just needed to pull out two of the hitting categories, and I was able to win runs and doubles. Erik narrowly won the other four categories, but that wasn't enough for him to pull out a win, and I was able to win 6-5-1. Unfortunately for Erik, as I just posted in the Slack, he would have beaten every team this week but one, and he played that one team this week. So a bit of an unlucky break for Erik as he now drops his fourth straight game and drops to 2 games under 500 at 4-6, which I didn't do the research beforehand, but I would be shocked if this wasn't the first time that Erik has been below or 2 games below 500 at any point in the season. Uh,
Yeah, I think it probably is. And it sucks that he's lost four in a row because this is the best he's played all season,
he's
pretty clearly.
probably, as an aside, and I'll let you finish, he's probably never lost four in a row in this league either. Maybe not even three in a row.
Yeah, I would probably say you're right about that.
Yeah. Well, sorry, go ahead. I just
No,
wanted to put it in perspective.
yeah, no, just saying that this was the best he's looked all season. That offense in particular was really good. With the 48 RBI, 11 steals, 55 runs, good on base too. Um, he had a really, really strong week from Jose Ramirez. Wander Franco was all right too. Good week from Ozuna. Very good week from your new nemesis, Ellie De La Cruz. Let's talk about him though. He got called up while you were recording your segment with Ruthvik last week, and he scored 7 runs on Erik's team, stole 3 bases, homered, drove in 4 runs. 481 on base. He showed a good eye too. He had a stretch where he struck out 6 times in a row in the middle of the week, but before and after that, he was phenomenal. Um, I don't want to have to face him next week. But looking at your team, though, you did win the matchup. You had a good week from Tatis, a decent week from Castellanos, despite the low on base. Um, Good week from Trey Turner. But your matchup MVP once again has got to be Freddie Freeman. He had a 519 on base and he scored 8 times and drove in 9 runs. Really, really solid job for him.
Yeah, I don't know how he keeps doing it. He has been everything I wanted him to be when I made him my second round pick in the inaugural draft, and bless him for keeping this up. He, especially with now Alonso out, that's a big loss this week, and Mullins is still out. Um, he has been by far the most consistent part of my offense, and I feel like he flies under the radar still way too much, but he is awesome.
He does. That's his fifth matchup MVP, which breaks four-way tie for third, which was with Acuna, Riley, and Dylan Cease.
Ooh, all right. How many matchup MVPs has he won just this year? Like, I feel like this is not the first time we've talked about him this year. Okay, so he won it in week 7. That's it. Oh, that's weird. I feel
Yeah,
like
he
he
had
or
three last year, and this is his second this year.
interesting. Yeah, he's been deserving of more. I hope he wins more before it's all said and done, but I'm sure he will.
Yeah, so the way it stands now, you are in that second, that very important second seed in the playoffs with your narrow win over Erik.
I don't know if it's second. I think it might be first because I have the head-to-head win over Jake.
Oh, you do, don't you?
I do. Yeah. I think, and it's weird because Jake's played 2 games against you and me. I've played one and you've played one. Um, but I have the head-to-head over Jake. Jake is the head-to-head over you. I guess I have the best winning percentage in games against each other, like against all of us. So I think that technically makes me the 1 seed, but like, I mean, at this point, it really doesn't make much of a difference, just with the fact that we all haven't played our full complement of games against each other.
That is true. Yeah, we've got a lot of games to play. I do not like playing Jake. I almost feel like I like playing you more than I like playing Jake. Um,
That's
I
an interesting take. I don't know if I agree with that or not. I don't know. I don't know which one of you or Jake I hate playing more.
I
Um,
don't know.
I feel like we're bearing the lead here, or we talked about it a little bit. Erik's lost 4 straight games now. Erik is now 4-6. There are now 6 teams who have better records than Erik. Erik is now tied with Alex and Anthony at 4-6. Is Erik a playoff team? He's a game and a half
Yeah, I
back from
think
the playoff spot.
game and a half back. Yeah, that's not terribly far. I think he makes it. It's um four. Yeah, he's 4-6. I think he gets in. I think Yuki's probably the one who falls out, would be my guess. Or maybe Conor. Um, not Andrew though. I think Andrew's a playoff team.
Yeah, I think Andrew's a playoff team too. And I think Andrew has played the toughest schedule. I'm not sure if I mentioned that earlier, but I definitely mentioned it to you off air. 8 of the 10 games that Andrew has played so far have been against teams currently projected to make the playoffs. And there's absolutely no reason why he can't just knock it out. He's a winning record through that, so there's no reason he can't absolutely knock it out of the park in the second half with an easier schedule and presumably some reinforcements coming his way if he chooses, given that he's firmly in the hunt for a playoff spot here. But that leads to my next question then. Uh, Erik, do you still believe he's the 4th best team in the league?
I don't know, because I said this to you off air that I think I played a tougher opponent this week than you did. And granted, Erik played better than Andrew this week, clearly by quite a bit. He would have beaten Andrew by quite a lot, but I think Andrew has been better this year than Erik has, both in record and the underlying stats. I I'm not going to say definitively that he's outside that 4 spot, but I think it's closer than I don't I don't even want to say that it's closer than last week because again, Erik played better this week than the team that's on his tail. But eh, I'm gonna yeah say he's still the 4th best.
Okay, I say so too from a talent perspective, but here's where I think it falls apart from Erik. I think that Erik has done a great job of accumulating a lot of talent. I mean, if you're looking at some of the players on his team, right? Uh, just look at his offense: Jose Ramirez, Wander Franco, Ellie De La Cruz, Shohei Ohtani. That's like 4 elite pieces that should be enough to carry an offense, even with just average talent around them. Um, he's got some interesting young pitchers here. He's got Corbin Burns, he's got Hunter Green, he's got George Kirby. When you look on paper, this is a team that should have a better record. I think the problem is, and we give Erik a lot of credit for being someone who does a great job of managing a team. And I wonder if he's losing a little bit of that edge. And I think he has a similar problem, albeit in a different form, to the problem that EBO had in 2021. Now, if you all recall, and we talked about this team a lot on the podcast, 2021 EBO played a lot of close games. And we thought they were a better team than they played, but they effectively punted 2 categories each week. They went all in on the bullpen. There was not enough starting pitching to keep opponents honest. When that happened, teams knew that they would probably lose saves and holds, but they knew that they would almost assuredly win Ks and quality starts. It was 2 categories that were being punted each week. And that meant that EBO had to be perfect. And their relievers had to pitch really well to ensure that they won ERA and WHIP, because otherwise they were really behind the 8 ball. And even if they hit well, the margin for error was going to be really small. And it led to them, losing a lot of games. Erik's having the opposite problem because Erik does not invested in bullpen guys like he had in previous years. Erik in previous years would lead the league in holds. Now, he wouldn't really invest in saves, and I think it's totally fine. Erik doesn't need to do that. But what he was doing in holds meant that, he was only punting 1 category. He's not punting 2 categories. And like I get it, this week he had 3 holds, right? But 6 other teams or 7 other teams in the league had at least 3 holds this week. So it's not anything special. And you know that if you just get 1 save against Erik, you're winning saves. And it's not just about those categories. ERA and WHIP are, when you have these relievers, they can help get your ERA and WHIP lower when, maybe some of your starting pitchers struggle. Erik's not doing as well with that this year, keeping the ERA and WHIP lower. I can pull up the exact rankings he's got here. Erik is middle in the pack in ERA. He is 8th in ERA, and he is, 4th in WHIP, which is not terrible. But it's making it really easy to form a strategy to go and beat him. And maybe it means that, he has a talent, and maybe it just means that some of the weeks where he's losing some of these close matchups, they could be wins otherwise when they're close losses right now. So that's my little Erik spiel. I think there could be a little bit of better management done to raise his ceiling and get him back to, being a playoff team.
Yeah, we'll see. I feel like you're repeating a lot that you said last week on the as per Erik's team, and we'll see if we're saying the same thing again next week.
Yeah, I think I might have put it a little more elegantly this week, but yeah. I think I saw it more up close this week. I also think using ad drops a little wiser. I wonder if he could be doing a little better job of that. Like, he picked up Rougned Odor early in the week, and he just sat on Erik's bench all week and barely played. So I wonder if Erik just has some overall things to think about.
I don't know. And again, he played really well this week.
No, he did, and it's less of I'm not trying to take away from how he's performed this week. I think it's more of, I finally played him this week, or I guess I played him earlier, but I'm playing him again now, and it's been a close matchup. So I've been thinking about this and doing a deeper dive. So I now have a little more of an informed opinion than I did, a week ago, 3 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago. So I don't know. We'll see. Certainly interesting.
Mm-hmm. We shall see. But Let's move on now to uh another close matchup. This was one that we had singled out as a matchup to watch. And in the end, Yuki pulled out a tight one against Ruthvik, 7-5. As he put in the chat, Ruthvik has played a lot of close matchups lately. He has lost most of them. This is yet another one in his and as the person who owns his first round draft pick, I'm liking this. He tried to trade for that first round draft pick this week, by the way.
Shocker. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd want that pick if I was him.
Yeah, we couldn't come to anything, but I think the story here is that Yuki really hit the ball well this week. He didn't pitch great, but he had 56 RBIs, 51 runs, 14 steals. Just a tremendous week. Ruthvik nearly flipped on base in order to make this a tie. Couldn't quite do it. Uh, Whip was very close too, but in the end, Yuki's in that 5-4-1 clump alongside Andrew and Conor.
Yeah, so fun fact, Yuki set his stolen base record this week with 14. He last set his stolen base record, which was 13, also against Ruthvik. So anytime Yuki plays Ruthvik, it seems like the steals just come piling in. But I'll give a little bit of credit to Ruthvik here. I feel like I give him a lot of flack, but it looked like Yuki was just going to run away with this and just blow Ruthvik out. And Ruthvik kind of came back with a vengeance. He pitched phenomenally today, got a couple quality starts to flip quality starts. He flipped strikeouts on Saturday. And OBP was close. At one point, he had the OBP lead. They were tied 6-6. He fell short by 0.001 OBP points from tying it, and that's what ultimately did him in. But it was a good comeback effort. Unfortunately for Ruthvik, he drops to 3-6-1, kind of putting him in that bottom quadrant. There are three teams that are do not fit neatly in one of those little clumpity clumps. Um, so and he is one of them. But yeah, big win for Yuki. Yuki's now 5-4-1. Why don't you talk about some individual players we really liked?
Yeah, so Yuki's standout player this week was Corbin Carroll. He just it felt kind of like he arrived a little bit this week. I don't know how true that is really, but he had a 542 on base, uh, three steals, eight RBI, nine runs, two doubles, three homers. This was some player of the week stuff from him. Matchup MVP. Shout out to Isaac Paredes, who had drove in eight runs. Shout out to Tyler Stevenson, who really had a rough start to the season, but he this week drove in nine runs, two homers, 379 on base. I think he may start driving in a lot more runs now that he's hitting behind some better players. Good week from Randy as well. As for Ruthvik, he had a really solid week from Ryan Noda. He's had a couple good pickups like this. Alex cut him back in April. Ruthvik picked him up last week, and he really, has looked good so far. That's about it. I'll give a shout out to Acuna as well, and then pitching wise, Shane Bieber actually.
Bieber, Jesus Christ. Regression's got to come at some point. This is not sustainable. I don't care what anybody says. It's not sustainable. But yeah, no, big win for Yuki. I think you picked a good matchup MVP here. Did you pick a matchup MVP yet?
Yeah, Carol.
Okay, Carol, that's what I thought.
You
Okay.
picked a good matchup MVP. Did you pick a matchup MVP?
I was like, wait, we ended talking about Shane Bieber, so I was like, wait, like Shane Bieber wasn't the matchup MVP. I had a momentary mind mind blank there's a phrase for it. I don't know. I don't whatever. Yes. Are you ready to talk about the next matchup?
Yeah, how about there was one other one that was really close. And that was Anthony moving to 4-6, narrow win over the Drury. Certainly not the most convincing, but he has won back-to-back games. The Drury were just like a little bit of bullpen away from taking the dynasty belt, which would have been very fun at 2-8 and holding the dynasty belt. They haven't been hitting badly lately. I gotta say, the last couple weeks they uh, got a 364 on base percentage, which might legitimately be their record. Um, let's see here, not quite, but
You're just a little off.
yeah, but yeah, they're still pretty good. And 23 doubles was a really great week. That does tie their record actually, and it ties a record that they set the last or when they played Yuki a couple weeks ago. So they've been hitting, and they actually had a decent ERA too. Granted, a lot of the remaining stats aren't there. They hit 9 home runs, 49 strikeouts. Anthony played decently as well, I'd say, too, with the on base and the RBI being there, and just enough to get that win and kind of move into that third clump.
It's weird because it looks like for part of the week, like Daniel and Matt might actually win, and this is actually one of their better weeks. But I mean, just not enough. I mean, not the sexiest week for either of these teams. But good for Anthony to be able to pull it off. I mean, I know you and I have really spoken highly of his team at different points this season, and he just hasn't put it together. But to win two straight here, he's now 3-2 in his last five after starting the season 1-4. Um, he does have a couple of tough matchups coming up, but if he could find a way to keep up this momentum, maybe he can get back in a playoff hunt. I don't know if I'm necessarily counting on it, but I think he can stay somewhat relevant in the upcoming weeks.
I think he can. I think the pitching just needs to figure itself out. It was well over 6 for most of the week, and then he got a good start from Braxton Garrett on Sunday.
Have we
And
talked about
yeah,
Manoa yet?
probably, but it's oh no, because his start on Monday. I don't think we have mentioned this. He is down in the complex. He gave up 6 runs in a third of an inning. He has just been bad. It's keep getting worse.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Manoa's kind of a dick in my opinion. So like I never want to see a pitcher struggle like this and have to get sent all the way down. But it's he's been a dick and I don't like him. But I mean Anthony was relying on him. Like, that was an AL Cy Young finalist last year. Has fallen off. I mean, Alcantara's fallen off. Freddie Peralta's been meh. Braxton Garrett might actually be better than Sandy Alcantara for him, at least ERA wise. My goodness. Uh, Christian Javier has been good, and that's like Bailey Ober's been good, but I don't think Bailey Ober spent the entire season in the rotation. I think he started this season in the minors. So like, the only consistent starter all season was Christian Javier, and we touted this rotation as like one of the top rotations in the league. Just amazing.
Yeah, it really has not been good. But hitting wise though, he um only had Dylan Carlson in his lineup 2 days. But when he did, he went 4 for 8 with a homer, plus 4 walks. I guess, yeah, 3 days. Or I guess, yeah, he only played 3 days this week after coming back from his injury. But he, yeah, was very good. Um, Shout out to Jack Sawinski, who scored 6 runs. I think matchup MVP though, for the second week in a row, it's Joey Wiemer, um, which is kind of wild. Joey Wiemer is on a bit of a tear. He hit a couple of homers, drove in 6 runs, stole a base, 379 OBP. Yeah, Joey Wiemer.
as someone who watched him play against the Orioles, I can confirm Joey Weimer had a good week and a very frustrating week. Not just offensively, he also pitched very well or played very good center field defense. I think he saved the win for the Brewers with a fantastic catch in center. So good for him, but he's on my shit list this week for what he did to the Orioles.
Yeah. Okay, two matchups left. Which one do we want to go to next?
Why don't we go to the one that was closer, and that was Jake, and EBO. Jake beat EBO 8-3-1. Um, he had 101 strikeouts, so he joins the 100 strikeout club. Fantastic pitching week. 8 quality starts out of he used 11 starts this week. ERA and WHIP are a little elevated given that number of quality starts, 374, 110, but still fantastic. Um, Offensively, not Jake's best week, but 17 doubles, 41 RBIs, 8 stolen bases is great. Would like to see a better OBP than 300, but EBO didn't really have too many answers. 6 holds was nice for them. They otherwise got swept in the pitching stats. I guess they tied saves, but offensively, EBO didn't put up too much of a fight either. Although their 47 runs was nice and felt like kind of a pretty clear cut, top team beats, middle team type of week.
Yeah, pretty much I would say that yeah, he kind of a standard Jake week, the kind that we kind of the kind that we've grown to associate this team with 8 quality starts, but a 3.70 ERA, average hitting, although the steals were good. He had a good week from uh, from Mitch Haniger, good week from not a lot of bats. Manny Machado was his best bat, I would say. Matchup MVP though has got to be Blake Snell, who had 20 strikeouts. So that's a fifth of the way to 100 right there. Pair quality starts in 0.69 ERA, 0.62 WHIP. And keep in mind, his second start of the week was at Coors Field, and he totally shoved. He had 12 Ks there. All he gave up was a solo homer plus a couple other hits. No walks either that day. Just absolutely great week from him.
Yeah, I'm a big Blake Snell hater, but that was definitely a great week for him. Uh, Jesus Luzardo too, 7 innings, 1 earned. Actually, he had I think, maybe it wasn't Luzardo. I'm getting mixed up with someone else. Luzardo, that was a nice. Luis Castillo also had a nice pitching week. Garrett Whitlock had a surprise quality start. Brian Bayo had 2 quality starts. Um, Jesus, just a great pitching week with really nothing on the hitting side or very little.
Yeah, and Gosman had a rough ERA, but he struck out 17 too.
Yeah, I think he had his first start was great. 7 innings, 1 earned, 4 hits, no walks, 13 Ks against Houston. And then against Minnesota today, he just shot the bed. Um, so that kind of skewed it. But Gosman's been great all year, other than three blow up starts out. He had an 8 earned, a 7 earned, and a 6 earned. Everything else is fantastic.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And as for EBO, they dropped to 3-7, down in that bottom uh, slump of the league. I will give a shout out though to Gunnar Henderson, who was remarkable this week.
Yeah, he looked really good. Feasted on that Royals pitching. Just hit a massive shot out to Utah Street today.
Yeah, I
Uh,
saw that.
yeah, I think the trade is kind of having the intended effect um, for them and for me too. With Trey Turner heating up, but no, that great week for Gunner. Happy to see him develop on the pitching side for them. Uh,
It was
Yuri
bad.
Perez, 5 innings, one earned at the White Sox. So Yuri's not pitched more than 5 innings in any of his starts yet, but nice to see him kind of you know, pitch pretty well and develop there. In his last three starts, he's only given up one earned.
Yeah, no, he was pretty much the lone bright spot. Well, Jack Flaherty was good too, but a couple blow ups. Strider was bad. Wisniewski was bad. Lorenzen was bad after putting together a really solid week last week. Yeah, not that there was really any shot of beating Jake in pitching categories, but still not what you want to see.
Yeah, this team still feels like I definitely see some of the progress being made with some of these individual players, but I still think they are a ways away from uh, really really being interesting. Uh,
Hmm.
but I like some of the progress that they are making with some individual pieces.
Absolutely. One matchup to go though, and it's an upset. It's
Yeah, why
Alex.
do we why
Uh,
do we talk about this last?
yeah, we kind of buried it a little bit because it wasn't close, but Alex upset Connor, who was. You said I was the worst offensive team this week, but Connor was the worst offensive team this week. Um,
Okay, fine. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
yeah, I would have liked to play Connor again this week, but unfortunately, that's not how the dice fell. Alex played good. Yeah, I certainly good, not amazing, but well enough to say it's a respectable win. And it is an upset. And they're 4-6. They've won a couple games in a row now. Well, they lost last week, but they've won 3 out of 4 to kind of get back into that not necessarily playoff mix, but kind of uh in interesting at the very least if they can put something together.
Yeah, I mean, 4-6, they're a game and a half back of a playoff spot, right? The- Conor, this is probably their best win of the season. I mean, they've beaten Ruthvik twice and Daniel Matt before this. Uh, this is a pretty decent offensive week. I mean, the OBP you'd like to see a bit higher, but 16 home runs, 48 ribbies, 43 runs, all very solid. The ERA and WHIP were decent enough. 398 ERA, 112 WHIP, 4 holds was great. Um, it's a little encouraging to me because I know in some of their other wins and even in some of their losses, I feel like Alex has been carried by a young pitching staff that's been pitching well, and specifically the rotation. So it's nice to see the offense step up a little bit and have a good week as well. But I think this is a pretty interesting team. This gives me kind of kind of a vibe to like early season Andrew last year, where I was like, hey, this team is interesting. I don't think this is their year, but I think that it might be next year. And I think that Alex has a lot of pieces, both in the majors that have come up right now and guys who are in AAA and the minors. I'm thinking guys like the Gavin Williams of the world. Um, he's got Brian Wu sitting there right now. A couple other guys where I wonder if they're getting closer to a playoff spot. I don't think it's this year, but I think the end of the year record should look pretty respectable.
Yeah, no, certainly with Jordan Walker coming back up and hitting well, that's certainly helping them out. Decent week from Julio. Matchup MVP for them, I got to give it to Josh Naylor, who had a 464 on base, drove in 7 runs, no homers, but 3 doubles, scored 6 times as well. Great week from him. Not a lot to write home about on the pitching side of things, although Wandy Peralta pitched well out of the bullpen. As for Connor, though, the offense was bad. Um, yeah, Marcus Semien slumping again. Rough week for Goldschmidt. Rough week for Patrick Wisdom. And pitching wise, Roansy Contreras got blown up and really a Manoa-esque start that tanked those pitching categories. This team, first 2 weeks of the season, two losses, looked terrible. Then went 6 weeks in a row without losing and looked pretty good. And now 2 weeks in a row, two losses, look terrible.
Did they,
How are we feeling about Connor's team?
did they play poorly against you last week? I don't, oh, that's right. That was
They did, yeah.
the one home run week. Inconsistent. It's I when he was winning as much as he was, I thought he was playing a little bit over his head. There's some interesting talent on this roster. I still worry a bit about the pitching staff. I really don't think it's a deep group of starting pitchers. I mean, Giolito's been a lot better this year than he was last year. Um, but like, who else really looks like a reliable starter? Verlander has a 4.85 ERA. Tristan McKenzie's just coming back from injury, didn't look too hot yesterday. Michael Kopech, it's just been so inconsistent. Uh, Kyle Gibson is Kyle Gibson. I love him, but he's, definitely prone to having some bad starts. It doesn't feel sustainable. Like I feel like there needs to be another pitch in acquisition or two. I think the offense can be fine enough with like Perez and Goldschmidt and Semien, Verdugo, Luis Robert, and Eloy if they stay healthy. It's a big if on those White Sox guys. Justin Turner, right? Like I think they could be fine. I think Conor could be fine there, but he's got to pitch better.
Absolutely. Merrill Kelly, I guess, has been his best starter, his next best starter. He's been good, but I don't really expect that to last too much longer.
Right. If Merrill Kelly's your second best starter, then you have a pitching problem, which is not a knock on Merrill Kelly. It's just a knock on depth.
Mm-hmm. All right. But those were the matchups. Let's look ahead to week 11. We are coming up on the halfway point of the season, believe it or not. Some good matchups here.
Well, not just some good matchups. It's rivalry week.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah, so great matchups.
Yeah, I can't believe I chose Erik as my rival, and now I have to I'm guaranteed to face him twice a year. That
I love it. Yeah, that's great for all of us. And I think that is the matchup of the week. I mean, I've talked about Erik ad nauseum here, so I'm not gonna regurgitate it all. But is this a must win for him at 4-6?
I think it is. Yeah, you don't want to be 4-7, uh, no matter what the rest of your schedule looks like. That is a really tough hole to dig out of, especially considering he's in that third clump, and there are two other teams that are tied for seventh with him. It's not even like he's tied for fourth or fifth. He really does not want to lose the pace of them. Um, he does face the other two teams in that clump the two following weeks, but yeah, you don't want to drop to 4-7.
Yeah, I mean, this is starting to look like not that Erik's on life support or anything, but like the time to turn it around is now. There is no cushion anymore. He needs to get his ass back on track or it's gonna get really ugly really fast.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And as for me, I really don't want to lose two in a row. Um, I have beaten Erik my last time I played him in the playoffs. This is our first matchup since then.
Yeah,
And it
this is
really
another semis rematch.
it
We
is.
had one earlier, yeah, but we
Yeah.
shouldn't be burying the lead with these things. That's the big thing.
Yeah, and it would be really, really nice to continue that. If my hitting could uh get something going here. I would like that very much.
Yeah, I think overall for you too, like your biggest wins of the season was a week one win over Andrew, and then a week 6 win over Yuki, right? Which is not to say those aren't big wins, and I guess as well a week 9 win over Conor here. But I don't feel like you had a signature win this season. And beating Erik would certainly be a signature win, even with Erik sitting at 4-6 right now. So um, I don't know if you feel a little pressured to, pull off a win for that reason, but it'd be nice to see you win a big game, or for your from your perspective. I hope you lose, but
No, I definitely agree. I need to pull off a big win here.
yeah. I also wanted to give a shout out to another matchup that I think is interesting this week. Um, that is Andrew and Alex. Andrew is 5-4-1. You just said that he might be better than Erik, and I think there's definitely potentially an argument for it. And Alex has looked pretty well recently. He's won 3 of his last 4. Definitely some solid young talent on this team. So I'm excited to see how that matchup plays out as well. Anything else you'd like to say about any of these matchups, or are we ready to go into to pick them?
Let's pick them up.
Great. So I don't know to what extent Cam cut out me trying to add up the pick 'em from last week. If he did cut it out, I think Cam can confirm that it was pretty painful listening to me. I couldn't add to save my life. And as a matter of fact, so I did it off air today, so you all don't have to hear it. When I did it off air, I still added it up wrong and had to go back and redo it. But I figured out math, and without further ado, you and I both picked myself, Jake, and Anthony to win. All 3 of those teams won. We both picked you and Conor to win. Both those teams lost. I picked Yuki to win. You picked Yuki to tie with Ruthvik. Yuki won. So I won 4-2 on the week. You won 3-2-1. Now 35, 21-4 in the season. You're 36, 16-8. When you convert the ties, I am 37-23, and you are 40-20. So you have a 3-game advantage, which means that you once again make the first pick. Was that smoother than last week?
Much, much smoother. There will be very little that I cut out this time.
Good stuff. All right.
Um,
I'm proud. But go ahead
all
and
right.
make your picks, good sir.
I think that you are going to beat Ruthvik. I think Jake is going to beat Anthony. I think Andrew will beat Alex just fine. I think Conor will beat the Drury. Although the way Conor's played the last 2 weeks, this that could be an upset watch. Speaking of upset watch, I no, I'm not going to pick EBO to win. I'm going to pick Yuki to win. Um, and I think I'm going to lose to Erik. I think it's just really lining up like that. Erik's not going to lose 5 in a row. That's absurd. And I can't hit to my way out of a paper bag the last 2 weeks. I think he's going to beat me, and I think he's going to beat me by a lot.
So it's interesting. You and I both picked Erik to lose to me last week. And then I got off air and immediately said, damn, I should have picked Erik to win. I'm curious to see if you're going to regret this pick, but all right. I'll pick myself to beat Ruthvik. I'll pick Jake to beat Anthony. I'll pick Conor to beat Daniel and Matt. I'll pick Andrew to beat Alex and Zach. I'm gonna pick. Hmm. I don't do this a lot, but I want to be different from you, and I'm gonna pick a tie of the week, and I'm gonna pick Yuki to tie EVO.
Interesting. I came very close to doing that.
Yeah, I came close to just picking EVO outright, but I don't trust that pitching staff, um, or chunks of the offense. Things are lining up for you to beat or for Erik to beat you. And it would make a lot of sense. And I can't picture Erik. I think I might do something that's never been done before.
Pick two ties.
I'm gonna pick two ties.
Interesting.
Why not? You, there's gonna be two ties this week, sure. It,
All right. How
it,
about that? I will say a point in my favor is I haven't been able to buy a save all year. Um, and Erik is giving me saves. So that's a free category that I would lose 8 weeks out of 10.
yeah.
But yeah,
You are missing Liam Hendricks.
yeah.
Strangely, if there was a week for you to have to miss Liam Hendricks because he's on the IL, although I don't like to see him on the IL with right elbow inflammation, like this is probably the week. Erik has 5 saves on the season. You have 17. Wow, you all
Yeah.
are very much at the bottom of the saves category.
It's been rough out here.
Well, you are leading the league in holds, so I think you have done an effective job of punting one, uh, but not the
Not
other.
intention. I would like to be getting more saves, certainly.
Yeah, I mean, what you got? Clay Holmes is the only, and Clay Holmes even has kind of been up and down with that having the role. I feel like
Yeah, I think he's kind of winning it back, which is nice. And Scott McGough got a save today. I'm hoping that may be a thing, but
I think
yeah.
I think he only got it because Chafin uh like struggled, and I think they got over the lefty part of the lineup. I don't think it's going to be a permanent thing. It's only his second save of the year.
We'll see.
Yeah, feels more ancillary to me than anything else. But uh, yeah, there you go. I picked two ties this week. That was an interesting week for recording, and it's rivalry week, so always fun. Uh, anything else you would like to add before we sign off here?
No, that'll be it. This is our 1 week with the clumps, before everything gets mixed up, so let's enjoy them.
Yes. Until then, stay clumpy.
You say it was fun, but it must not be real because now you're done, and so what? If that's all it was, love turns into lust and milk turns into clumps. Well, you don't have to tell me everything I want to hear. It only makes it harder for me every time.
This podcast is good.